My name is Anna. I am from a small town in Poland called Bielsko-Biała. It's a peaceful place with green hills and kind people. I have lived here all my life with my parents and my younger brother, Marek. Life here is simple. People know each other, and there's a bakery on every corner. But since I was a teenager, I had one big dream. I wanted to travel, meet people from different countries, and work in another part of the world. Maybe somewhere like the Netherlands, or maybe Ireland, or even Canada. I didn't know exactly where. I only knew that to do this, I needed one important thing. I had to learn English. I studied English in school, like most students, but to be honest, I didn't learn much. We mostly studied grammar and vocabulary, but we didn't speak. My teacher would write verbs on the board and ask us to copy them. It was hard to enjoy the lessons, and I felt shy speaking English. I was always afraid of making mistakes. After high school, I got a job at a local grocery store. It wasn't bad. I liked chatting with customers and helping old ladies carry their bags. But something inside me still wanted more. I wanted to understand English movies without subtitles. I wanted to read books that were not translated. I wanted to be confident in speaking, to say what I thought and felt in English. So, I made a small decision that changed everything. I promised myself I would study English seriously for 1 whole year. Not like in school, but in a way that made sense to me. My plan was simple. Every morning before work, I would spend 30 minutes listening to English podcasts, easy ones at first. At night, after dinner, I would watch an episode of a series in English with English subtitles. If I didn't understand a word, I would pause and look it up. I started with the show Friends because the sentences were short and the characters spoke clearly. Also, it made me laugh. After 2 weeks of doing this every day, something changed. One day, I was standing in the kitchen, cutting vegetables, and I realized I was thinking in English. Not full sentences, but simple words. "Where's the salt?" I said in my head, not the way I always thought in Polish. That moment made me smile. It was working. I told my friend Ola about my new routine. She was surprised. "Isn't that boring?" she asked. "Not really," I said. "It's like little victories. Every time I understand something new, I feel proud." She didn't really understand. Ola liked her job at the local salon and didn't have any plans to leave Poland. That was okay. We were just different. About a month into my new English journey, something interesting happened at work. A man from Sweden came into the shop. He didn't speak Polish and looked a bit lost. "Do you speak English?" he asked slowly. I froze for a second. Then I smiled and said, "A little." He needed help finding almond milk. I understood him. I walked with him to the aisle and pointed. "There," I said. "This one. It's sweet. This one, no sugar." He smiled. "Thank you. Your English is very good." I felt my face go red, but I was happy. That small moment made me feel like I could really learn this language. That night, I wrote in my journal, "Today I spoke English with a real person, a real customer." It was short, but I didn't panic. I understood him. Maybe one day I will be able to work in a country where English is the main language. That weekend, I searched online for free English classes. Most were expensive, but I found a YouTube channel where the teacher explained English in a very slow and simple way. Her name was Emma, and she had a calm voice. Her videos were about everyday English, how to order food, how to talk at the airport, how to describe your daily routine. I started watching one video every day. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I started speaking aloud to myself. I would stand in front of the mirror and pretend to have conversations. Hello, my name is Anna. I am from Poland. I work in a grocery store. It felt silly at first, but after a while, it became normal. I learned this was called thinking aloud, a method where you practice your speaking by saying your thoughts out loud. It really helped me to become more comfortable with English. One day, I read a comment under one of Emma's videos. It said, "To improve pronunciation, try shadowing. Just repeat after native speakers immediately after you hear them." That night, I tried it. I played a short English story and repeated every line after the speaker. It was hard. My mouth got tired, but it felt like exercise, not for my body, but for my mouth and brain. I added this technique to my routine. Now, every morning, I would listen to a short podcast and shadow it. Every night, I would watch a video or episode and try to repeat some lines. Slowly, my pronunciation started to improve. 2 months passed, then 3. My English wasn't perfect, but I could feel the progress. In April, my cousin Kasia called me from the Netherlands. She was working in a cafe in Utrecht. She told me they were looking for new staff for the summer. "You should come," she said. "It's a small cafe, very friendly. They don't need perfect English, just basic communication." The idea scared me. Me? Work in the Netherlands? Speak English with customers? "I don't know if I'm ready," I said. "You're better than you think," Kasia said. "Just try. You can always come back if it doesn't work." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about it. I wanted to try, even if it was just for 3 months. The next day, I told my parents. They were surprised, but supportive. "If this is your dream, go for it," my dad said. In May, I packed my bag and got on a train to Utrecht. It was the first time I was leaving Poland alone. I felt nervous, but also proud. I was doing something brave, for myself, for my dream. When I arrived, Kasia met me at the station. She looked happy and healthy. The city was beautiful, with canals, bicycles, and flowers everywhere. The cafe was small but cozy. The owner, Lisa, was kind and spoke slowly. She introduced me to the team. Everyone was from a different country: Italy, Spain, Germany. English was the language we all used to understand each other. At first, I was shy. I didn't say much. I listened a lot. But after a few days, I started to talk more. "Would you like coffee or tea? Do you want that to go? We have fresh croissants today." Simple phrases, but they were real. I was using English every day. One afternoon, a customer asked me, "Where are you from?" "Your accent is lovely." I smiled. "I'm from Poland." "Well, your English is really good," she said. "Thank you," I replied, and I meant it. The first few weeks in Utrecht felt like a dream. Not a big, dramatic dream, but a quiet, personal one. Every day I walked to the cafe early in the morning. The air smelled like fresh bread and bicycle grease. People smiled at each other. The city was calm but alive. It felt like the kind of place where small things mattered. At the cafe, I had my tasks: clean the tables, make coffee, greet customers, write the special of the day on the chalkboard. My favorite part was writing the daily menu in English. I would look up new words like zucchini and blueberry muffin and copy them carefully. Customers came and went. Some were locals, others tourists. Some spoke English slowly, some quickly. At first, I couldn't catch everything. I often had to ask people to repeat. I would smile and say, "Sorry, one more time?" They were usually patient. One man even said, "Your English is better than my Polish," and laughed. I kept using shadowing every morning. On my days off, I visited the library and borrowed English books for beginners. I read stories about daily life, families, jobs, travel. I underlined words I didn't know and practiced saying them out loud. One afternoon, during our lunch break, I sat next to Sarah, an Italian girl who also worked at the cafe. "How long have you been learning English?" I asked her. She smiled. "Since I was 12, but I only started speaking confidently 2 years ago. Before that, I was too shy." "Me too," I said. "I still feel shy sometimes." Sarah nodded. "You know what helped me? I started recording myself speaking, just on my phone. I would talk about my day, like a diary." That night, I tried it. I opened the voice recorder on my phone and said, "Hi, my name is Anna. Today I worked at the cafe. It was a busy day. I made many cappuccinos. A man from Canada asked for almond milk." My voice sounded strange at first, but it was mine, and I was speaking English. The next day, I did it again and again. Sometimes I listened to the recordings and noticed small mistakes. I would say, "He go to the shop," instead of "he went to the shop." But it didn't make me upset. I was learning. I could hear my own improvement, even if it was slow. I also started a little notebook, my English diary. Every day I wrote 5 new words, a sentence with each, and 1 short paragraph about my day. Today I was tired. We had many people in the cafe. I made 17 coffees. One customer was very polite. He said thank you and smiled. I like that. I never showed this notebook to anyone. It was just for me. But I felt proud of it. As summer continued, my confidence grew. I started having longer conversations with the other workers. One day, Sarah and I sat outside during our break. "I like your earrings," I said. "Thank you. I bought them in Spain," she replied. "Have you been to many countries?" I asked. "Yes, Spain, France, Germany, now the Netherlands." "I want to travel too," I said, "but I'm still a little scared." "Don't be," she said. "You're already brave. You left home, came to a new place, and speak English every day. That's a big thing." That night, I wrote in my diary, "I am doing something difficult, but I am doing it. Maybe I am braver than I thought." One Saturday morning, the cafe was very busy. A group of tourists from Australia came in. They ordered 5 different coffees and asked about vegan options. I handled the order by myself. I smiled, listened carefully, and repeated the order to make sure it was correct. Flat white, soy milk, Americano, no sugar, 2 cappuccinos with almond milk, and a hot chocolate with oat milk. Got it? "Yes, perfect," one woman said. "Your English is really good." That was the first time I felt natural speaking English. Like it wasn't a foreign language, but just a tool, something I could use to connect, help, and share. After that day, something changed in me. I wasn't just learning English anymore. I was using it for real life, in real situations. That evening, Cassia and I went for a walk by the canal. The sky was soft pink. Ducks swam past slowly. "I'm proud of you," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For everything. For learning English. For coming here. For not giving up." I looked at the water and smiled. It's still hard sometimes, but it feels good. By the end of the summer, I had made a decision. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to go back to just working in the grocery store and watching life from the same small window. So I asked Lisa, the cafe owner, if I could stay longer. "I really enjoy working here," I told her. and I want to keep improving my English." She smiled. "We'd love to have you stay. You're a fast learner, Anna." I called my parents and told them. My dad said, "We miss you, but we understand. You're growing." My mom sent me a message that said, "Just remember to wear a scarf if it's windy." That made me laugh. As autumn came, I signed up for a local English conversation group. Every Wednesday evening, we met at the library. People from all over came. Turkey, Brazil, Japan, Italy. We sat in a circle and practiced speaking. The first meeting, we had to talk about our favorite food. "I like pierogi," I said. "It's a Polish food, with cheese or potato inside." One man said, "I love Polish food. I tried bigos once." We all laughed and talked about food for 30 minutes. Later, we played a game where we had to describe a word without saying it. My word was library. I said, "It's a place with books. You can read. You can borrow." "Library," someone shouted. I smiled. I wasn't nervous anymore. I was having fun. That night, I walked home and thought, I'm not just learning English, I'm living in English. It was no longer just a goal. It was part of my everyday life. In October, something new happened. Lisa asked if I could train a new worker from Germany. "Can you show her the coffee machine and explain how to take orders?" I felt nervous for a second. Me? Train someone? But I said, "Sure, I'll try." The girl's name was Leah. She was kind, and her English was about the same level as mine when I arrived. I showed her how to use the machine, how to write down orders clearly, and how to greet customers politely. "Don't worry if you make a mistake," I told her. "Everyone makes mistakes. Just smile and keep going." She looked relieved. "Thanks, Anna. You're a good teacher." That made me feel warm inside. Me? A teacher? I remembered when I arrived, scared and quiet. Now I was helping someone else. By the time winter arrived, I had made new friends, spoken to people from all over the world, and even read 2 whole books in English. Real books, not adapted ones. My English was still not perfect. I still made small grammar mistakes. Sometimes I forgot words, but I no longer felt shy. I no longer felt small. I felt like myself, but in another language. When I first arrived in Vienna, everything felt new and exciting, but also a bit overwhelming. I had studied English in school, yes, but it was different here. People spoke quickly, with confidence. I understood only bits and pieces. When I listened to conversations on the tram or in cafes, I often wished I could just pause them, look up every word, and then press play again. But real life didn't wait. Instead of getting discouraged, I started using every small opportunity to practice. Every morning, I made it a rule to speak 1 sentence in English before leaving for my part-time job. Simple ones like, "I will take the tram today," or "I need to buy milk." I didn't care if they sounded silly. It helped me think in English. I started going to a local cafe where many international students hung out. I'd sit with my tea and listen carefully to how they ordered food, how they laughed and responded. One day, I gathered my courage and asked, "Can I sit here?" to a group of 3 girls speaking in English. They smiled and said, "Sure." That was the beginning of a small but important change. I learned how much you can grow just by listening and trying. I would go home and write down phrases I heard. "What have you been up to?" "Sounds great." "I'm not sure about that." These phrases felt more real than anything I had read in textbooks. One night, I watched a romantic comedy in English with subtitles. I paused it many times to write down lines. Then I said them out loud, repeating the intonation, the rhythm. That's when I discovered something new. Shadowing. It was a method where you repeat what you hear, almost like being a shadow of the speaker. It felt funny at first, but I started enjoying it. Soon I had a routine. I read simple English blogs for 20 minutes in the morning. Then I practiced shadowing from short videos or movies in the evening. I started speaking to myself in English, describing what I was doing. I'm washing the dishes, or now I'm going for a walk. It became normal. The best part was that I stopped worrying about being perfect. I focused on being clear. When I ordered food or asked for directions in English, people responded kindly. That encouraged me even more. By the end of my first month in Vienna, I could feel the progress. I could follow casual conversations better. I even had a small notebook where I wrote down my favorite English expressions. Every day, I added something new. I wasn't studying English, I was living it. I still remember the first time I helped a tourist in Vienna who didn't speak German. It was a warm Sunday morning. I was walking through the museum quarter when I saw a couple staring at a map, clearly confused. I heard them speaking English, and for a second I hesitated. Then I walked over and said, "Can I help you?" Their eyes lit up. The woman smiled and replied, "Yes, please. We're looking for the Leopold Museum." I gave them directions in English. Simple ones, but correct. "Go straight," I said, "and then turn left. You'll see the museum on the right side." They thanked me and went on their way. As I continued walking, I couldn't stop smiling. That one interaction gave me so much energy. I felt proud. I had helped someone using a language that used to scare me. After that, I became more active. I joined an international conversation club at the university. We met every Friday evening to talk in English. The rule was simple: English only, no matter where we came from. At first, I was nervous to speak in front of others, but I quickly saw that everyone was learning. Nobody judged. We shared stories about our countries, our cultures, our dreams. We laughed a lot. Sometimes we made mistakes, but we corrected each other gently. One evening, I told a short story about my childhood summer trips to Hungary. Everyone listened and asked questions. They understood me. That night, I walked home feeling like I was finally part of something. I also started using an app where I could speak to native English speakers. We exchanged voice messages. I helped them with German, and they helped me with English. One person, Lisa from Canada, became my regular language buddy. We still chat every week. Lisa once told me, "You don't sound like a beginner at all." I thanked her, but I also laughed. "It's because I practice talking to myself," I said. She replied, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." The biggest lesson I learned was that learning English wasn't about being perfect. It was about expressing myself clearly, honestly, and bravely. I didn't need to sound like a native speaker. I just needed to keep improving, little by little, day by day. Now, when I walk around Vienna and hear English, I feel connected, not lost. Sometimes I still struggle with big words or fast conversations. But that's okay. I remind myself, I've come so far, and I'm still going. On Thursday morning, I woke up earlier than usual. It was the day I would start my first job in England. I was a little nervous, but also excited. I had never worked in a cafe before, and I didn't know exactly what to expect. I quickly got ready, had a small breakfast, and checked the address of the cafe again. I didn't want to be late on my first day. I took the bus and arrived 20 minutes before my shift. The cafe was small, but very nice. There were round wooden tables, a glass display full of cakes and sandwiches, and soft music playing in the background. The smell of coffee was everywhere. When I entered, a woman with short brown hair smiled at me. "You must be Anna," she said. "Yes, I'm here for my first day," I replied. "Great. I'm Claire, the manager. Let me show you around." She gave me a short tour of the cafe, explained the coffee machines, the menu, and where everything was kept. Most of it was new for me, but she spoke slowly and clearly. I tried to repeat everything in my head to remember. Claire introduced me to two other workers, Tom and Mia. They were friendly and helped me feel welcome. Mia showed me how to take orders at the counter. I watched her for a while, then she let me try. The first customer came. My heart was beating fast. "Hi, how can I help you?" I asked. The woman smiled and said, "Can I have a cappuccino and a blueberry muffin, please?" I repeated her order to make sure I got it right. "One cappuccino and one blueberry muffin?" "Yes," she said. I made the note, smiled, and passed it to Tom, who was working near the machine. When the order was ready, I handed it to the woman and said, "Here you go. Have a nice day." She thanked me and left. I took a deep breath. I did it. My first customer. It felt like a big step. During the day, I served more customers. Some spoke fast, and I had to ask them to repeat. Some had strong accents I didn't understand, but most of them were patient and kind. A few people noticed that I was not from England and asked me where I was from. I told them I was from Slovakia and that I was learning English. "That's great. You're doing really well," one customer said. That small compliment made me so happy. Every kind word gave me more confidence. During my break, I sat with Mia. She asked how I was feeling. "I was nervous in the morning, but now I feel better," I said. "You're doing great. I started working here last year. I was also learning English. Now it feels easier. You'll get used to it too," she said. I told her about my school and my teacher's methods, using English every day, reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud. "I think those are really good methods," Mia said. I also learned by watching English TV shows and repeating the sentences. It helped me a lot. Her words motivated me. After my shift, which lasted 5 hours, I felt tired but proud. I thanked Claire before leaving. "You did well today, Anna. Keep it up," she said. On the way home, I thought about the day. I spoke English for hours. I had small conversations. I understood most of what people said. It was much more practice than I had at school. That evening, I wrote in my diary. I wanted to keep a journal of my English journey. It helps me reflect and also practice writing. I wrote about my first day at the cafe, the kind people I met, the mistakes I made, and what I learned. I also wrote 3 new words I heard that day and their meanings. The next day at school, our teacher asked us to share something interesting from our week. I told the class about my new job and how I tried to speak English with customers. "That's fantastic," my teacher said. "Work is a great place to practice real-life English. You are already doing what we talked about, learning by using." Other students shared their stories too. One girl talked about ordering food in a restaurant without using her native language. A boy talked about asking for directions in English. I realized that we all were trying, in different ways, to use English in real situations, and every small success helped us grow. After class, I stayed for a few minutes to ask the teacher a question. "I feel like I make many small mistakes when I speak," I said. "Is that bad?" "No," she said kindly. "Mistakes are part of learning. Don't be afraid of them. The most important thing is to keep speaking. You'll improve over time." That advice stayed with me. From that day, I stopped being so afraid of making mistakes. I focused more on communication than on being perfect. On Saturday, I didn't have school or work. I decided to go to the park with a book. I picked a short story collection for beginners. I sat under a tree and read for an hour. Whenever I found a new word, I looked it up in my dictionary app. I tried not to stop too often so I wouldn't lose the flow. Sometimes I read the sentences aloud quietly to myself. It helped me hear the rhythm of English. At one point, a little boy playing nearby looked at me and smiled. Maybe he thought I was talking to myself. I smiled back and kept reading. Later that evening, I also tried shadowing with a YouTube video. I played a short interview and repeated every sentence after the speaker. At first, I missed some words, but the second and third time, I was better. I could feel my tongue and mouth getting used to English sounds. Then I tried thinking aloud. I talked about my day in English. Today I went to the park. I read a book. It was about a girl who loved animals. I didn't worry about mistakes. I just spoke. It felt strange in the beginning, but also exciting. That weekend, I felt more confident. I was using English in real life, at school, at work, and in my daily routine. I could see progress. I wasn't fluent yet, but I was no longer scared of English. I was starting to enjoy it. I also started to notice something new. I was beginning to think in English without trying. When I walked on the street, I sometimes described things around me in English in my head. When I saw something interesting, my first thought came in English, not Slovak. It felt like my brain was changing. I knew I still had a long way to go, but I was on the right path. The following week felt like a small turning point in my journey. I was getting more comfortable with my routine. School in the mornings and the cafe in the afternoons. My confidence was slowly growing, and I started to notice little moments that showed how far I'd come. On Monday, something surprising happened at work. A customer came in and asked, "Hey, could I get a flat white and a ham and cheese toastie, please?" It was a simple order, but the way he said it, fast and casually, would have confused me just 2 weeks ago. But now, I understood immediately. I smiled and replied, "Sure, 1 flat white and 1 toastie. It'll be ready in a minute." He nodded and paid. After he left, I realized I hadn't needed to ask him to repeat anything. That was new. A small thing, maybe, but for me, it felt huge. Later, during a break, Mia sat next to me again. "You're improving a lot," she said. "You look more confident, too." "Really?" I asked. "Yeah. I remember how quiet you were on your first day. Now you're talking to customers like it's nothing." That made me smile. Sometimes it's hard to see your own progress, but when someone else notices, it feels real. At school, we started working in pairs for conversation practice. I was paired with a girl named Eliza from Poland. She was shy at first, like me, but we quickly became friends. We had to practice daily situations, ordering food, making appointments, asking for help. One day, the teacher gave us a role-play task. "You are in a train station," she said. "Anna, you are lost. Eliza, you work at the ticket counter. Help her." I walked up to the front of the class and acted nervous. "Excuse me," I said to Eliza. "I think I'm lost. I need to go to Brighton." Eliza played along. "No problem. The next train to Brighton leaves at 10:15 from platform 3. I asked more questions. "How much is the ticket? Do I need to change trains?" We both did our best. After the scene, the class clapped. Our teacher said, "That was a great example of real communication. You were both clear, polite, and natural." After class, Eliza and I started sitting together more often. She told me she worked part-time at a hotel reception. I shared stories from the cafe. We practiced English together outside school too, texting each other in English, even when it was easier to use our native languages. I realized that having a friend who was also learning helped a lot. We weren't afraid to make mistakes in front of each other. We encouraged each other. We laughed when we said something funny or wrong. One evening after school, Eliza and I went to a nearby market. It was full of food stalls and people speaking many different languages. We tried some Indian samosas and shared a small pizza. We walked around, chatting in English, even though we were both tired. There was a bookstore nearby, and we went in to browse. I found a children's book section and picked up a book with simple English stories. Eliza said, "I used to read these too. They're great for learning new words." I bought one and decided to use it as my reading practice for the week. When I got home, I read one story out loud. It was about a boy who finds a stray dog. The language was easy, but the story was sweet. I underlined words I didn't know and looked them up. I added them to my vocabulary notebook, just like my teacher had taught us. At work, things were getting smoother too. One afternoon, a man came in with his daughter. She was maybe 6 years old. "She wants to order by herself," the man said, smiling. The girl stood on her toes to see the counter. "Can I have a chocolate cookie and apple juice?" she asked shyly. I smiled and said, "Of course. 1 cookie and 1 juice." The girl smiled back. "Thank you." Her father gave me the money and said, "She's learning to be brave." "I know the feeling," I said with a laugh. "I'm learning too." He looked at me kindly. "You're doing great. I can tell English isn't your first language, but you're very clear." That small conversation made my day. Later that night, I video called my parents. I hadn't spoken to them in a few days, and I missed them. My mom asked how school was going. My dad wanted to hear about my job. I told them everything, how I was speaking more English, how I made a new friend, how I was trying to learn a few new words each day. My mom said, "You sound different, Anna. More grown up." I smiled. "Maybe because I'm using English so much. It's changing how I think." "I'm proud of you," she said. "It's not easy to live in a new place, speak a new language, work, and study. But you're doing it." Her words filled my heart. Sometimes we need someone we love to remind us how far we've come. Over the next few days, I kept my routine. In the mornings, school. In the afternoons, work. In the evenings, I studied or practiced English on my own. I started listening to a podcast for English learners. The hosts spoke slowly and explained common phrases. I listened while cooking or cleaning. I repeated the sentences quietly to myself. One episode taught the phrase, "to get the hang of something." It means to learn how to do something, slowly getting better with practice. I smiled when I heard it, because that was exactly how I felt. I was getting the hang of English, not perfectly, not fast, but step by step, word by word. A week later, something unexpected happened. Claire, my manager at the cafe, asked if I could help a new worker who just joined. She's from Spain, Claire said. Her English is okay, but she's nervous. Maybe you can explain how we do things. Me? Helping someone else? I wasn't sure I was ready, but Claire trusted me, so I said yes. When the new girl, her name was Lucia, arrived, I smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Anna. I can show you around." Lucia looked relieved. "Thank you. I'm a bit nervous." "I understand," I said. I felt the same on my first day. I showed her how to take orders, how to use the till, where the cups and napkins were kept. I tried to speak clearly and slowly, just like others had done for me. By the end of her shift, Lucia said, "You're very helpful. I hope I can speak English like you soon." That moment felt special. I remembered how I had struggled to understand on my first day. And now, here I was, explaining things in English to someone else. It felt like a full circle. That night, I wrote in my journal again. Today, I helped a new worker. She said she wanted to speak like me. That felt amazing. It shows that I am really learning. I still make mistakes, but now I can help others too. That is a big win for me. I ended the entry with, "Every small step is still a step forward." Now my life in Vienna feels very different. I have a routine, and I enjoy it. I wake up in the morning, and I speak to myself in English when I make breakfast. I tell myself what I'm doing. For example, now I'm boiling the eggs, or I will drink coffee today. It feels funny sometimes, but it helps me a lot. I do this because of the thinking aloud technique I learned. After breakfast, I go to work. On the way, I listen to English podcasts. Sometimes they are about travel, sometimes about daily life, and sometimes they are just short stories. I like them all. Listening every day helps my brain to stay in English mode. In the evenings, I read a few pages of an English book. I don't read too fast. If I don't know a word, I check it. But I don't check everything, only the important words. Over time, I feel like I understand more and more. I still meet Clara once a week, and we speak in English. We go to a cafe, order tea, and speak about everything. About work, family, and plans for the weekend. These small talks help me improve and feel more confident. Sometimes we make mistakes, but we don't worry. We laugh and keep going. Now, I think in English more often. I don't always translate in my head like I did before. My thoughts are simple, but they are in English. That's a big change. I also record myself speaking. I choose a topic like my favorite food or my weekend plans, and I speak for 2 minutes. Then I listen to the recording. I can hear my pronunciation and try to improve it. It's a good exercise. It shows me how much I have grown. I'm not fluent yet, but I can have conversations. I can understand people. I can express my thoughts. That's a big success for me. If you want to learn English like me, here is my advice. Read every day. Just 15 to 30 minutes is enough. Choose stories you like. Listen to English audio, podcasts, YouTube videos, or even songs. Speak aloud, even if you are alone. Use the shadowing and thinking aloud techniques. Use English every day. Even a little is better than nothing. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. Just keep going. Do a little every day. One day you will realize you are already speaking English. This is how I changed. This is my story. And maybe this can be your story too. If you enjoyed this story and learned something new, tell me in the comments. Which part helped you the most? Like this video if you want more English learning stories. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. And remember, your English journey starts with one small step.